Hi everyone, Dutch Reefer here and welcome to the latest Focus Friday video in which I'll be telling you more about what to do when the power goes out or how to prevent your tank from dying off whenever there's a power outage. It's something that you see regularly or now and then. You'll see a topic of someone who's lost a lot of fish or even coral whenever there was a power outage, and usually that only happens when you don't have any backup mechanisms in place, either because these backup mechanisms can be very expensive or people just don't think about it. They think, well, the risk is pretty low, so I won't take any precautions. The reason I'm making this video is because two reasons. One of them is a few weeks ago, a very famous Dutch reefer, Glenn Fong, had one of had a power outage, and in one of his tanks, a lot of his fish died, and it was really painful to see what 7 hours of power outage can do to your reef tank fish. His corals were okay. That's also something I'll touch upon later. When I'm giving you a small preview of what happens when the power goes down in my tank. Well, because of the power outage that this guy had, I started to think about it, and I thought, well, I need to take some precautions. And in this video, I'm going to explain some of the choices that you have whenever you want to be safe against power outages. So next I'll show you what the precautions I have taken and what this does. So a few weeks ago, or it's actually 1.5 weeks ago, I got this backup battery, which is one of the most simple solutions that you can take. It's an aquarium pump extender, it's what it's called. This one is made by Coral Box, but I think the same brand is also made by the same thing is also made by Ice Cap. I think it's just rebranded. It's the same product. What it does, it is as an internal battery, and it's linked to the controller of, in this case, my Gyre. I know it works on Jecod, Giesemann pumps, and also on the Maxspect Gyre. There's even a special converter supplied whenever you buy a Maxspect Gyre that says backup battery. It's 12 volt, and it's actually a converter that makes 24 to 12 or 12 to 24. I'm not sure which one of the two, but that makes sure it's compatible. So whenever the power goes down, for now I'll just demonstrate the pump, because taking down the power entirely would stress the fish. So whenever I turn the gyre off, then you can see directly that it starts to go on a different mode. It's actually in the top left. You can see that now there's a battery icon. So right now it's running on battery power. The Gyre power supply has been shut off, and right now it's running on this thing. What it does is it will go into some kind of an emergency mode, which you can see right here. It starts to go on a constant 50% mode, which will provide enough flow during the time that the power is out. So flow is actually reduced by a lot right now. In the case of an entire power outage, of course, everything would go down. So the lights will go out, the return pump will go out, the temperature will cooler or heater will also be gone. So you'll only have a bit of current. So why is this important? Of course, you would want your entire tank to remain active. That's the best solution. But the most important part is that you keep your flow in your tank. The reason is that the flow in your tank is the thing that's supplying oxygen to the water and to the tank. And whenever the pump is down as well, so there's no flow at all, then oxygen levels can decrease very rapidly, especially in crevices, behind your rocks, underneath your rocks. The oxygen levels can go down really, really fast. And the thing is that usually when the power goes down, then the fish will get scared and they will try to hide. They will start hiding behind the rocks, underneath the rocks, and that's exactly where the oxygen levels will start to decrease. So I think that's also one of the main reasons that the other guy in the Netherlands lost a lot of his fish in just 7 hours, is because the fish start hiding. They go into places where there's not a lot of oxygen, and then eventually they will die. Corals, they'll be fine. They won't have that much issues with periods of about 10 to 12 hours without flow, but your fish, they really need the oxygen and they really need flow in the tank to remain alive. So that's why I've opted for this solution. For me, it's the most easy, most cheap solution there is. It was about 120 euros, 110 euros. So if you translate that to dollars, it would be around 120, 130. And this way, you'll ensure that your tank can live through a power outage. So the funny thing is, last week the power actually went out here. So I got a text message by my energy supplier that the power went down around 6 p.m. and I was still at work, but I wasn't worried at all because I knew I had the backup solution. And indeed, when I came home, it was working nicely. So yeah, it just takes your mind off these kind of things. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And that's a really nice thing, because the last thing you want is to have your fish die because of a power outage. Now there are other solutions as well. The best solution in my opinion is to buy a UPS, which is an external power supply that's often used in the IT industry. So whenever the power goes down and you have servers or computers that are really important for your work, and they're connected to a UPS, which will supply them with power for a certain amount of time. The thing is with these UPSs, they are very large machines, so compared to the battery pack that I have, they're a lot larger, 10-20 times as big. So you have to find a place for it and find a spot where you can put it so that it's able to provide your tank with power. I think they're also pretty expensive unless you buy them second hand, which I think they're readily available. So you should be able to buy one for just a couple of $100 euros, and that would even be a better solution. Then you can also choose to add some other equipment to it. So other than the flow pump, you can also add a return pump to it, or even the lights, or even the cooler or the heater. But of course, the more electricity it draws, the faster it will run out of battery power. Another solution is a generator that's working on diesel or gasoline. But of course, that one is only useful when you are at home or can come home quickly after a power outage occurs, because you have to add it manually and be sure you're at home to attach everything that's needed from that moment onwards. So I'm very happy with the backup battery that I bought. It's already proven itself useful within 2 weeks of me buying it, so definitely a good buy there. I can recommend that if you have a reef tank and you have a considerable amount of fish or coral inside, especially fish that you are fond of, please consider buying one, keeping one, because like I mentioned, the flow in your tank, it's one of the most important things. And yeah, it's a nightmare to come home and see all your fish dead. I couldn't imagine what I would do if that happened. So I hope you found this video useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a nice weekend for now. Bye bye.